Daf Tes Zayin 16. And we're going to do the following 10 things. I'm going to first just quickly read them with minimal explanation, and then I'm going to go use the Gemara to really analyze each of these 10. The topic is love Elai, this concept that you can borrow money and God will repay for three things: Shabbos and Yantif, food expenses, and for Talmud Torah, for Jewish education. And then Shamai and Hillel, the gift of Shabbos, Eruv, tavshilin, and Bishul, Akum. Those are the main topics of today's daf. So number one, your annual income is fixed, meaning it's divine decree of how much you're going to make, budget accordingly, even though you don't know how much it is, but you have a good sense from the past. From the time between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, that's the time of judgment. And what does that mean exactly? Does that mean you don't have to work? Or does it mean you don't have to work too hard? Or does it mean you have to work really hard but not to worry?
It means you're going to do
Number
what
two.
you're going to do, and Hashem's going to do what he's going to do.
Yeah. Number two. Exceptions to number one, where it doesn't matter whatever is decreed, this is extra above and beyond. Expenses for Shabbos, expenses for Yantif, particularly the food of Shabbos and Yantif. Talmud Torah, which we would translate today as tuition for your children to study Torah. Why, may I ask, does the Gemara specify these three things? So there's a lot of mitzvahs that cost money. Why don't we say making aliyah? Like you don't have to budget for making aliyah. They obviously knew not to say that, right? So they didn't say marrying off your son or your daughter. They didn't say that. You know, these are big expenses. So why did they pick these three? There are many good mitzvahs that are very important, but we only pick three of the many. Why these three? Number three, Shamai and Hillel had different ways of preparing for Shabbos. What can we learn from them? Number four is Rashi and Chumash and some Poskim actually rule like Shamai in this argument, when we always rule like Hillel. The question is why? And once we're on the topic, some other exceptions. And number five, to the rule that when Hillel and Shammai have an argument, we usually agree with Hillel. So we're going to look at like a Tosafot in Sukkah that I think mentions 6 or 7 exceptions to the rule. We're not going to go through all of them, but we'll touch on maybe 1 or 2 of them. Number 5, we did. Number 6, what is the gift of Shabbos? The Gemara is going to say that Shabbos is a gift that is partially revealed and partially concealed. And it says one of the ways in which it's concealed, like God didn't tell us about it, is that we have a Neshama Yesiera. We have an extra soul. So we have to understand, what is this Neshama Yesiera, this extra soul? Number 7, if you give a gift to a friend, you should let them know. There's actually a debate or a discussion whether you should or shouldn't let them know. It has to do with...
Matan b'seiser.
Usually we say giving, if you're giving tzedakah, for example, a higher form of giving tzedakah is to be an anonymous donor. So the Gemara actually says that it depends about letting them know. Particularly if you give something to a child, you don't want the parents not to know that you gave, even food. We're talking, you shouldn't be giving something dangerous, shouldn't be giving them a knife to play with, but even food, a piece of challah. By the way, you have to be very careful today. I would say don't give anything to a child without letting them know first. At the time of the Gemara, you give them a piece of bread. Now, if you give them a piece of bread, chas v'shalom, has an egg in it, and they have an anaphylactic reaction to an egg.
Not to mention intolerance.
Forget about the gluten.
Yes.
Right, the sesame seeds, the pop, you can get high off the poppy seeds by accident. There's a lot of problems out there. So don't give anything to children, that you haven't first cleared it with their mother and their father. Yeah, but even back then, if you gave something, you had to find a way to let the parents know. Number 8 is back on the topic of Erev Tavshilin. Bread alone is not good enough for Erev Tavshilin. really, our custom is to have bread and one cooked item. But if you let's say had only $2 and you could only buy one or the other, you'd be better off buying the cooked item. Even though it's not even $2, you could buy a single egg, 25 cents. And now it's $1, but okay.
Or you could buy instant oatmeal.
It's a good question if you could buy instant oatmeal. So the Gemara actually discusses something like a ground flour type of wheatina type of food.
Special.
Number 9 is exceptions to the issur of Bishul Nochrim. There's a Tosafot here. This is kind of, I only printed one. The most nafka min halacha part of our Gemara, and the Tosafot, the Masach Mashwan, is a conversation about exceptions in the Tosafot, really, not the Gemara just mentioned.
From where in the Torah comes the issur of Bishul?
It is not in the Torah. It's a rabbinic decree. There is an issur of Bishul Akum, which means when non-Jewish people cook something in certain circumstances, it's forbidden. Not at all circumstances.
Is Akum anyone who isn't Jewish, or only those who are actually Ovdei Kochavim Umazalos? Does it include Christians and Islamists, or only those who are actual non?
A broader interpretation would include
monotheists?
non-Jews in general. There are a lot of exceptions here, so it's almost like better not to give the general rule because it's such a full of exceptions that it's almost like the general rule. I don't want to say is irrelevant. It's not irrelevant, but you have to learn the details here. So I have a piece of paper. It's like 5 pages long by Rabbi Heinemann of the Star K that outlines like the exceptions to the rule. He calls it food fit for a king. They actually call the White House because one of the 7 or 8 exceptions is it fit for a king? I think they called before the Trump administration. So Danny can handle it. Like there's like, yes, Coca-Cola is we definitely serve Coca-Cola. Hamburgers in, But they actually literally asked the White House, chef, do you serve potato chips? They're like, absolutely not. They're like, we serve anything anyone ever wants. We've never had to serve potato chips. So potato chips, for example, are not Bishul Akum. It doesn't matter who made them. Technically, there's some people who want to say anything made in a factory should have zero issue of Bishul Akum because the whole point of Bishul Akum is one of 2 things. Kashrus, we're not sure of the kashrus. So if you have kosher supervisor, it's kosher. And chasnus, you might intermarry. Well, no one's intermarrying because they get a can of cooked beans, or even or cooked cranberries. So even though there is that heter, a lot of people do not accept that heter, but they'll be mitzdaref that heter. They'll combine that heter with other heterim. And there's a lot of heterim.
Where did they get it from originally? Did they just make it up themselves, or is there any source for it? Because usually
we'll get to that. We're not discussing it yet.
Okay.
I don't even know why I spent so much time on it because it is the one takeaway like halachic area here. Number 10. Who is Yotze by the rabbi's Erev tavshilin? Okay, let's go back to number 1. Your annual income is fixed. Look at the Gemara. It's the first. It's underlined. Number 1, you see the Gemara?
Mazonos usually means food. Right?
Yeah, mazonos means food.
Sustenance.
But it's a broader term that could also mean livelihood, parnasa.
Okay.
Because the Gemara is talking, let me just give you a little bit of context here. The Gemara was talking about Memrus of the famous debate between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua on Tes Vav Amud Beis, if a Yontif should be celebrated Chatzi Lachem and Chatzi LaHashem, if you should divide it between God and enjoying, that's the opinion of Rabbi Yehoshua. And Rabbi Eliezer, there's a big story in the Daf Tes Vav Amud Beis, says that no, it's either all for you or all for Hashem. You just choose one or the other. So that's the context, and we were already talking about Eruv tavshilin, and then we're talking about what is Yontif exactly in terms of Simcha. What's the mitzvah of Simcha and Yontif? And we say everyone agrees that on Shavuos, for example, that you need Nami Lachem because the Torah is given, so it's a time of joy. So that's the context. And then Rabbi Yochanan quotes Rabbi Eliezer, the son of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who says that children, borrow on my account and sanctify the holiness of the day, and I will repay your loan. Okay? Now that's the quote, and the Gemara says, Tana debei Rabbi Tachlifa Achua Rabbi Fnei Chazai. That's the quote is this current quote that's expanding on that statement is said over in the name of Rabbi Tachlifa. Now we start. Kol mezonotav shel adam ketzuvim lo Rosh Hashanah v'ad Yom Kippurim chutz motzat Shabbatot v'Yom Tovim. Motzat Yom Tovim. Motzat Shabbat Talmud Torah. All a person's mizonot narrowly would be translated as their food, but most people understand it to be broader term for their annual income. When you file in advance to pay your taxes based on, don't you pay taxes, projected taxes?
If you're not on a payroll, and you earn your money through your business, you project the income based on prior year income, and you're required to quarterly file an estimate of your income and a payment of 1/4 of it, of the tax due.
Okay. So you got to file. So that means that we assess you based on what you've been earning in the past. Even if you are self-employed, and the truth is you may not make what you made last year.
Well, you settle up at the end of the year.
Yeah. But it just kind of means God is, on the one hand, setting up how much you're going to make. You don't really know. You can project. The IRS certainly wants you to file based on that. So there's a assessment that we don't know. However, let's assume it's going to be similar to what you made last year. What that means for you is you should create a budget. And by the way, I'm speaking
as someone who's never created a budget in their life.
Terrible person who knows that this is one of my big shortcomings of not really effectively creating a budget. So I'm like preaching to you of something I absolutely don't do.
Fortunately,
so don't listen to what I do. Listen to what I say. And the Gemara is very conservative here. Am I right? I'm admitting it's not. I'm not telling you. Oh, I have lots of experience. I'm great at budgeting and saving money. But it's a Gemara. The Gemara says you're on a fixed income. Whatever your income is, that's what it's going to be. So don't go crazy. Keep that in mind. Okay, so that's
the Gemara says that. Okay.
Well, that's how you have to read the Gemara.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you mean how do you know, as if you're self-employed?
Well, we just said how.
You estimate based on prior.
No, but let's say it really goes up and down, you always try to.
Okay, so you have the Gemara was just saying in last daf that there's certain things you can do to ensure that your property won't get stolen or will retain its value. There's a lot of little things. I'm not here to give economics class because I'm the last person you want to listen to. So I'm just here to say I don't know anything about it, but the Gemara apparently knows a lot more than I do, and most people here know a lot more than I do. So I'm not going to lecture you on something I don't do. Okay. Next thing. Number 2.
Everybody on TV lectures about stuff.
Yes, that'll be the prerequisite to lecture is something you know nothing about. You know.
Just act confident.
So I will say one thing. I looked this up online, and somebody wrote a little article about it, and they said 2 things, and one was absolutely wrong, and one was absolutely right.
About the halacha?
No, about how to understand this Gemara.
Oh, okay.
And the first thing they said is what this means is that you don't have to work basically because you're going to get the same amount. Like you could take it easy, You could spend all the time you want with your family. You could study Torah all the time, and you're going to get the same amount. Wrong. That's not what it means. That's complete amaratus. Then he quoted the Beitza Rebbe. If he would have just quoted the Beitza Rebbe, he would have avoided the stupidity that he had to say in the beginning. I believe it was the Beitza Rebbe, and he said there's a verse that says in the brachas and the klalos that the brachas are going to be and you're going to get all these wonderful things, and the klalos is going to be, God forbid, that the person is going to lie awake in terror at night to say what's going to happen tomorrow. He says the klala is when a person, instead of sleeping at night, stays up all night worrying about how they're going to make a living. That's a klala because you want to know what you need to do. You need to know that there's nothing to worry about because you're going to only make the same amount whether you worry or not. You're going to go to work. Nobody's saying don't go to work. That other than that person, that was wrong. I don't even think he meant not to go to work. He just meant work a tiny bit, or not at all. I don't know what he meant. That's why people who don't know enough shouldn't write stuff. So, but what you do is you work as hard as you need to work, but you don't think that worrying is going to help you because worrying doesn't help.
Of course.
Work helps and God helps, and bitachon that your work and God's plan. Because even if you're going to be poor, okay, that's what it is. You're not meant to be rich, but
that's not totally true. Because if you worry, then you're more likely to work harder.
Well, you can get motivated without
there's
worrying.
positive.
Yes,
There's
you
positive.
can.
There's positive planning.
Remember the character in the Tom Hanks film, Bridge of Spies? And at every turn, there's a court case,
Right.
and his life will depend on the outcome of this case.
Right.
And Hanks would turn to his client and say, "Are you worried?" And he would say, "Would it help?"
Right.
It's a great line. Of course, a little worried, Danny. We're Jewish people. We're worrying all the time. But let's not
Overlay.
not worry to the point of paralysis.
Rabbi from Rabbi Riskin.
Yeah.
When his yeshiva, it was the day in his yeshiva, all the kids were wearing T-shirts saying, "Don't worry, be happy." He called an immediate assembly of all the kids, said, "You cannot wear this shirt. It's not Jewish.
Worry.
Jewish is worry, be happy."
Okay, cute. Okay, so that's number one.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
If a person, let's say a person is trying to figure out how to make his parnasa,
Yeah.
and is he allowed to say, you know what, I'm not going to take this job. God will make it up for me anyway. Even if I can't balance my budget this year yet, God will figure it out for me.
Asking for a friend, huh?
Asking for a friend. Are you allowed to take that attitude? My money is made. My money is whether I work or not. Take this job or
You mean
not.
if a person is making 50,000 and somebody offers him 150,000 and his annual expenses are 140,000, should he stay at the $50,000 job? No, he shouldn't.
But
You have to do everything you can,
Yeah.
and then you play.
I mean, meaning if somebody is saying, "I'll give you a raise, but I need you to do X and Y."
the side jobs. Should a
Yeah.
person take side jobs? Or is this like God saying, "What are you doing? I'm giving you everything anyway."
No, if you need the money,
I
it's a
think
side job.
there's it's a good question. I don't know. Sometimes, see, Reb Nachman talks about this, and I think the person to take an eitzah from is Reb
I don't see
Nachman.
any of this in the Gemara. The Gemara is very clear. During time of Aseres, you made tshuva. When you're doing your hishtadlus in your tshuva, Hashem is going to look at what your tshuva is and is going to say, okay, this is his katzah for the year, and you can improve it during the year by doing more mitzvahs, Talmud Torah and Shabbos and Yom Tov. I think it's a very limited Gemara. I think you're expanding it way too far. I'm looking at the Rashi. It seems like you guys are going beyond the scope of the Gemara here.
But I also looked online. Enough to say what's right and wrong online, you know.
It's not a shop in Gemara.
We always put the other
Um,
stuff here.
I You guys
Well-
being way too expensive.
Well, because I did look a little bit into this, that's why. It's not, the Poskim actually talk about this. So let's go to number 2, because that's where they spend more time talking about it. But number 2 is the Gemara says there's an exception to budgeting, because you have to, let's look them shot now, to respond to you. You're raising a good point. Everything I'm saying seems to be out of thin air.
This Rashi is like.
But Rashi's only one. Rashi's great, but it's only one of the Mefarshim. So the Gemara says, "Chutz motzas Shabbos v'yom tovim v'otzas banav l'Talmud Torah." The exception to this rule, is if you're spending money. Hotzas means expenses that are for Shabbos and Yantiv. Usually, Shabbos and Yantiv expenses, especially back then, was primarily for buying food. Of course, it could also be for candles and something like that, but it's mostly seen as getting a nice Shabbos Suda, a good Yom Tov Suda, and even more expensive is Talmud Torah, is tuition in a yeshiva, a Jewish day school that's going to teach your kids, sons, and nowadays, arguably, daughters is equally, if not greater importance to teach your daughters Torah. Even if they don't technically have the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, if they don't learn Torah, you're throwing them to the wolves. So,
I like that.
yeah. So you have to, you have to do something. So anyway, those 3 things are the exception. Now to respond, David, the question here is, where am I reading this thing about that you should not worry and sleep at night and work during the day? You're saying you should worry or you shouldn't worry about your parnasa?
I'm saying it's not.
Or it doesn't hit down the text at all, one way or another?
So far.
Well, it's saying you have to be careful with your money, except for these 3 things. With these, you can over budget. You could spend money that you're not. We're just using the IRS. They're not idiots, right? The IRS knows a little bit about money, something, right? So they go by a quarterly assessment of what you made last year when you work for a company that you own, right? I read about. I know a little bit about this. I'm not. Danny backed me up, right?
Yes, sir.
So let's just assume when you're budgeting for your household and you don't have a set salary, you get paid, let's say, per hour, but it depends on how many clients. You're a lawyer, you're a doctor, right? You don't know how to budget, but you budget based on what you usually do. Don't spend too much because you may not make it. Is that in the text now?
Personally, I don't think so.
No.
Well, then why is it saying Chutz Mosad Shabbos V'Yom?
It's a fact.
And it just said before, and I started off by saying, Lava Elai V'Ani Pareh. God says, when it comes to these 3 things, you can borrow money, I'll pay you back. I won't pay back for your expensive vacation that you took to Hawaii, and I won't pay back, I hate to say it, I don't want to say it, God forbid, for a wedding. It doesn't say wedding. I'll pay back for Shabbos, Yom Tov, and Talmud Torah.
He's not saying the week before Pesach. He's not saying Shabbos Hanukkah. He's saying this time.
Yes, because it's connected to your tshuva. You are right. A Rasha may not live out the year. A tzaddik, he's a tzaddik, whatever, but the rest of us, Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, we get judged. And just like we get judged for life or death, we also get judged for parnasa. And sometimes, God forbid, we have a fall in parnasa. We don't know.
I agree with that.
That you agree with.
Yeah.
And since we don't know, we have to be cautious. Maybe even have a little savings account. Maybe have a retirement plan. Whatever. But
you could go all out for Shabbos and Yom Tov and have faith.
doesn't
very
say to
good.
do
It
that
doesn't,
either.
okay. It doesn't say go all out. Well, I could spend $100,000 and could throw. Is that guy who makes a kiddush for was $100,000 now it's $500,000 or something?
Who's the guy?
I don't know. I never went.
Come on.
I never went. I don't even know the guy's name. But there's a guy who makes $500,000 kiddush every year. So is that shot in love Elai? I should borrow that money to make a kiddush for $500,000? Chas v'shalom. That's not what it means. It means whoever you are. No, wherever you are, have a nice Shabbos meal. Now, by the way, there is a context in this. There's another Gemara that says that if you're an ani, you're allowed to ask for tzedakah that they give you 3 meals for Shabbos, as opposed to 2 meals in every 24-hour cycle the rest of the week. But if you're just making it and you're not asking for tzedakah to anyone, you're proud and you can just get by, and the only way you'll get by is you have enough money for 2 meals a day, including Shabbos. So I'm not mistaken, the Gemara says, Aseh Shabboscha l'cho v'al titztarech lebios. In that case, that you can get by, but only with 2 meals, so you can't make it exactly a Shabbos-tic thing, then make it like a weekday in terms of the way you eat, and don't ask for tzedakah. Once you're asking for tzedakah anyway, then you also ask for Shabbos, and you get 3 meals, obviously.
And you get your kasadar.
So here, what the Gemara is saying is actually saying, love Elai, saying you can borrow, use your credit card to buy money for food for Shabbos. It doesn't mean you have to be particularly crazy, but you have a Shabbos. So that's what the Gemara is saying. And the Poskim argue about, is it only that you have a way of paying back? You know you can pay back. I'm going to get paid on the 15th, so on the 15th, I'll pay. They didn't have credit cards then, but they had neighbors. So you went and you got $100 from your neighbor. You bought for Shabbos. You bought for Yad, $500 for Pesach. But I know I'm going to get paid back. Maybe for Pesach I have a payment plan. I'll pay them over.
This is not fair.
So one opinion says you can pay them back either because you know you can pay them back or you have a mashkin. You're not mechuyev to potentially have to be homeless, or go into debtor's prison. So there's a machlokas about exactly how far to go. So I want to, look, on your own time, look into further, but I want to answer the question I asked. Why these 3 things? There's many mitzvahs that are very important. Why these 3 things?
There's a commonality.
Yes, there is. See, this guy, he's such a cheater. He comes late and he has the answers.
You know what it is?
Everyone is sitting here, they don't know the answer, and then you come late and you know the answer already.
Perpetuity.
You must, Hashem told you the answer. It's not fair.
It's about perpetuity and continuity.
Very good. I have notes. You can see that this guy saw my notes, even though he didn't see my
I
notes.
saw it from the streets. I saw
You're accusing him of cheating.
Yeah, he must have cheated. There's no way he knows.
I knew how to cheat. I was trained in medical school how to cheat. No, I'm serious. Am I right about the continuity?
Yeah. So listen. Very good. I'm going to read it literally so you see how close we are. So, I had a whole story from the Baba Basra, which a beautiful story. Look it up in your own time. Baba Basra 10a, about Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai and his nephew, that sometimes if there's a bad gezerah on you, if you give that money to tzedakah, you will have avoided losing the money to some other thing. Now, here's the commonality here. We were just learning the context here. Remember, we're learning about that. Let's go with Rabbi Yeshua, that Yantif, and to some degree Shabbos as well, is divided between you and Hashem. There's a beautiful pshat that I believe, I'm trying to remember if it's in Reb Tzadok, a Kohen of Lublin, or Reb Nachman. But it's in all over Chassidus, but we're going to apply it. There's a beautiful Torah that the Machs HaShekel isn't just that we gave a half a shekel. It's that Hashem is our partner. He's one half, we're another half. It's like you're married. You're one half, your wife is the other half. So the Chatzi LaHashem and Chatzi Lachem is not just that, divide your time. No, your half is, the half that's for you is in relationship to the half that is to Hashem. You're makdish, you're sanctifying the food that you're eating. You're learning how to transform even your eating.
Is it different from Shabbos in that respect?
No, it is. That is what Shabbos is.
So it's for Shabbos and Yom.
Shabbos and Yantif, and the Gemara is talking about Yantif will apply to Shabbos as well. So this elevates not only the eating of Shabbos and Yantif, but also how you budget, how you shop. So, for example, you know how the three things that we're talking about, Shabbos, Yom Tov, and Talmud Torah. Usually, we just learned before that Shabbos, Danny said the Shabbos Yom Tov the same. We just learned before the opinion of Rava, that the way Rashi explains Rava on Tes Vav, is that Kedusha Achas, that Shabbos and Yom Tov, when it comes to eating, even though the laws are different, but they have one sanctity. What's that one sanctity? That we're elevating the eating to make it Hayom Kodesh LaHashem. It's a sanctified day to God through the eating. So Shabbos reminds us that it's God's world, and Yom Tov reminds us primarily how God took us out of Egypt, which means what? Listen to this. On the week, I have to absolutely budget. I can't be reckless. Because if I don't have the parnasa, and even by the way, like you said, Shabbos between Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, if I didn't do tshuva, I'm not holding by it. I can't rely on a miracle. Why would I rely on a miracle? But at the same time, I'm also relying on myself, which is a good thing. But not on Shabbos. Shabbos, we have to stop relying on ourselves. Not on Yom Tov. And they're different. They're the same and they're different. Listen to this. Shabbos is... I'm not the creator of my own destiny. I don't make my own parnasa. The week, yes, but not on Shabbos. Hashem is my creator. I'm not even like a partner. I'm not even an equal partner. It's Hashem is making everything. I'm the kli, but I don't even, on Shabbos, it's only Hashem. I amplify that. And on Yom Tov, listen to this. Yom Tov is when I think I'm drowning in daigas haparnasa. I am drowning in worry. I don't have money. I can't figure it out. I don't know what to do. I'm very worried. Yitzias Mitzrayim. Hashem is able to give us kaichas that we don't really possess on our own. We have to have faith that Hashem can help us. Obviously, we have to help ourselves. He doesn't want us to be He doesn't want us to be like the 80% of the Jews who didn't want to go out of Egypt. We have to be willing to go out. Now, the third thing, Talmud Torah.
By the way,
Banav.
Yeah, Banav l'Talmud Torah. So this is what you were saying. Listen.
Yeah.
And the Talmud Torah, even Rabbi Eliezer says that everyone is in agreement that on Shavuos you need lachem. It's a Gemara, last week. The Torah was given to Pekudei Hashem Yeshar Misam Chalev. We talked about why you can't learn Torah when you're in Avelis, because Torah is given to give you joy. It needs to make you happy, so the connection between Talmud Torah and Shabbos and Yom Tov is, and why Dafka for Chinuch? Because that's the Yesod. Yeah, it's of course very important that my children should get married. B'Shah Tova, I'm davening every day. It should be. And of course it's very important that we should make Aliyah. We're all davening every day to get closer. It's very important that we build a sukkah and that we have talis and tefillin. But the Yesod, all of those things, right? Gadol Talmud Shemevi L'dei Ma'isa. The Talmud is greater. It's the foundation. So all of these things are the foundation of Emunah, and we're going to go further with it. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3. We have to move a little faster now. Number 3.
We could daven Mara by ourselves.
Except, no, because then nobody's going to come back.
At 12:30 in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. Number 3, Shamai and Hillel had different ways of preparing for Shabbos. And what can we learn from them? So look at the Gemara, number 3. The Gemara says, Shamai hazaken. Let me see if I have one for you.
Where's the whole idea of the Eruv tavshilin? The Eruv?
We're going to get eventually.
Okay.
So here, we're on the... Yeah, it's Gemara. Oh, you know what? Here, I have this for you. Here, just use this.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Circle.
It's excellent.
Oh, you have an extra one? Okay. You give it back to me, then I'll use it. So Shamai hazaken. Tanya Lav Amar Lav Shamai hazaken. Kol yom ha'echol l'kavod Shabbos. He would eat all of the time in honor of Shabbos. Matzah. Behemana. He would find a nice animal. They would eat them back then. We still do, but we don't have to shop like that. We just go to the store and buy it,
Frozen.
Yeah, whatever. I remember Zulu Shabbos, he would buy it and designate it to be for Shabbos. Let's say that was on a Sunday. On Monday, he'd find an even better looking, fatty, nice animal. So he'd get the second one, and then he would eat for Monday night a nice steak, lamb chops, chicken, whatever it was. And he would say, "Oh, look, I'm eating Shabbos. I bought it for Shabbos, but I'm eating it on Monday and Tuesday because the whole week he would do that. He would buy, then find something nicer, and then eat what he had bought previously during the week. So the whole week he was eating the food he had bought for Shabbos." Hillel had another attribute, another way of approaching, another philosophy. Now, wow, what a word! All of his acts were for the sake of heaven. What about Shamai? He wasn't holding by that.
Yeah, what does that have
Apparently
to do
not.
with when he shopped for Shabbos food?
Shenema Baruch Hashem Yom Yom, like it says, blessed God day by day, meaning I trust in God every day. Tanya Nami Halchi Beishama Emrim Machar. He brings a quote, and Bishul says this Baruch Hashem Yom Yom. And Beis Hillel wouldn't worry. Hillel would just go shopping on Friday and find what he needed.
Wow.
So, what does this mean for us? First of all, let's just quickly, because we don't have time, I used too much time on the earlier one, so we'll go quickly to number 4. Rashi and Chumash, there's a pasuk that says, remember Shabbos. Remember the Shabbos, I don't remember the exact pasuk or where it is, but Rashi says, remember the Shabbos every week. During the week, you should remember Shabbos, but when you see something nice, buy it for Shabbos. Who is that like? Hillel. And some of the Poskim say we should.
It's like Shamai.
I'm sorry, Shamai. During the week, remember Shabbos by shopping. And many Poskim like Shamai. The question is, we almost never Poskim. There's a few exceptions.
Right.
Why would we not follow Hillel? Like Shamai.
Yeah.
Many of the Poskim.
So the answer is this is one of those exceptions.
But the question is why? So one of the answers is Mida Acheres is like a Mida Taiva. Like it's saying he had, Hillel did something because he was on a very high level. We're not on Hillel's level. He had a level that he had bitachon in Hashem. In fact, to prove that point to Ben Yehoyada, who's not trying to prove that point but proves it anyways, he asks a series of questions. What does this Mida Acheres mean? And he answers that Mida Acheres doesn't just mean that he did it. It said he was openly saying, I don't need to worry until Friday because Hashem will provide.
And he also had confidence in his own ability to be zoche for it.
Yes, and he says most people, even if they know in their heart of hearts that they always find a parking place on the block that they have to go, they'll never tell anyone in the car with them, I always find a parking place on the block I need to go. Just watch, because you know what's going to happen?
Yes.
That will be the one time that they won't find the parking place.
Exactly.
Hillel was more confident than that. He would say, I don't worry, I'll always find what I need Erev Shabbos. So the point only being, you hear the point, is that he had an exceptional high level of bitachon. So therefore, some of the poskim say, good for Hillel, we're not on the madrega, so we have to follow Shammai. That's one of the answers that's given. By the way, today we follow Hillel. The reason is because we have 661, Fairway, Trader
Frozen
Joe's.
food.
We have huge supermarkets. They didn't have any of those things, so we can't. Meaning, if Yutaka sees something that there's unlikely to have on Erev Shabbos, somebody was quoting to me how I think Chani Lipsker in Bell Harbor she remembers going to Shir. Chani Lipsker saying, when you see a nice thing in the mall, like you see something nice, like a nice. She wasn't talking about food, talking about the ladies in Bell Harbor. They go shopping. Those ladies. So she was saying, when you see nice things, buy it for Shabbos during the week.
Yeah.
So she was passing like Shammai, not for the food, But for the designer,
Clothing.
well, not even clothes, whatever it is, nice things. She's not wrong, by the way.
Even like a painting does.
You see some,
beautify your
I
house.
don't know, she didn't say painting, but she said you see a nice, bowl in the store, and you buy the covered Shabbos. Like, it's a chap. You have these wealthy people, you have to train them also. They have everything, but they should be seeing the world as, what am I going to buy the covered Shabbos, right? Okay, nice chap. So that, and let's go to number 5. Why are these things? What are some of the exceptions to when we rule like Shamai over Hillel? So there's a Tosafot. There's a famous Gemara, but I'm not going to take you into that Gemara, which is hugely problematic and needs a share on its own. But about Beis Shamai and Beis Hillel in this regards, but I will just say that there's a Daf Gimel in Sukkah has a Tosfos that lists 6 or 7 things, mostly I think from Amnon, that says these things we Poskim like Shamai. And I'm going to give you one example because it's very similar. The one example Tosfos spends a lot of time talking about is there's a machlokus if you're eating and you had a motzi. And you have to bench. There's no question you have to bench. You ate enough to have to obligate to bench. Midaraisa, let's say, even, right? One thing that's midaraisa is berachas hamazon if you ate kadei svia of lachem. And then you leave. You're supposed to bench where you should bench. L'chadchila, everyone agrees you should bench where you had the meal. You forgot and you went away. Do you have to go back to where you ate? Beis Shammai says you do. And Beis Hillel says you don't. You know what are many of the Poskim like? Guess who? Shaman. Why?
Only for bread, though, right?
Yeah, only for bread.
Only for bread.
We're only talking about bread. So why? So there's 3 answers given. One answer is if you see the Gemara has 2 stories that show you the power of going back to where you ate. One in the positive and one in the negative. One somebody who was rewarded for going back and one who was punished for not going back. Okay, so sometimes it's not a hard and fast rule that we always paskin like Shamai, Elai. We always paskin like him unless there's a reason not to. So there's a reason. We look at the stories. That's one of the explanations. The other answer is it's not mitzad hadin that you have to go back. It's midas chasidus to go back. It's the right thing. Like sometimes the argument is the din. Is the law like this or is the law like that? And then we inevitably almost always go like Hillel. But sometimes they're not arguing in the law. Like here's how one of the Mefarshim say. Mistama Hillel would also go back. Even though strictly speaking, he said you don't have to, but he probably would. So you should. Now that's kind of like...
You have to go back if you left on purpose, right?
Yes, they both agree that you have to go back if you left on purpose. I'm pretty sure that's how most people learn it. But the machlokes is if you didn't remember, you left. You didn't leave purposely. You forgot to bench, and then when you walked away, and 5 blocks later, you're like, I didn't bench. Technically speaking, you could just bench. Usually the halacha follows Hillel. You should just be able to bench there. But the poskim bring down that you should go back. L'maisa, you should go back, but you don't have to. I don't go back. I follow Hillel. Okay, if you have to know. And I also follow Hillel. I shop on Thursday and Friday. I don't shop Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Okay, but that's because I think things have changed. So that's number 5. Number 6, what is the gift of Shabbos and the secret part of the gift of the Neshama Yesiera? So look at the Gemara. The Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Chanina, Hanesa Matan L'Chaber Ein Tzarich Le'adia. One opinion is if you give your friend a gift, you don't have to let them know. Shenemar Moshe Lo Yada Ki Karen Arpanav. I'm on the first wide line of the Gemara.
What are the practical benefits of Neshama Yesiera?
We're going to talk about that in a moment.
But then not everyone agrees with that. You should let people not to do
Yes, it's a machlekes in the Gemara.
Absolutely.
That,
Especially with the children.
that everyone agrees you have to. So, Meisvei, the Beitzah asks, the pasuk says it should be known that I Hashem make you holy. Hashem tells Moshe, I have a gift in my treasure house. It's Shabbos, and I want to give it to the Bnei Yisrael. So Reb Shimon Ben Gamliel says we learn out from there. If you give a gift to a child, you have to let their mother know. And the Gemara says it doesn't really contradict the statement of Rabbi Chama, because Chama is dealing with a gift that will become clear that you gave it. So, for example, if somebody has my bank account routing number and they want to give me $1,000, it's a very generous gift, and they want to do matan b'seis, and they want to tell me.
Just look on your statement.
Yeah, but I might think it was somebody who owed me money, or I may not understand it at the shul. I don't know what it is, so I'm not going to realize what it is. So, if I'm the type of guy who notices $1,000, and I'm like, oh well, let me see who gave it to me. Let me see who it came from. Okay, then it's okay not to say. You don't want to they'll figure it out, because we know they'll figure it out. Me, I'm not so sure, but somebody who will reasonably figure it out, you don't have to tell them. But if somebody won't figure it out, say that you're giving it to them, because when you give somebody something and they don't even know that they're getting it, they're not going to even know the gift that they're getting. So tell them that they're getting a gift so they can appreciate it. Not just appreciate you that you're giving it to them, but they also appreciate what they're receiving. So the Gemara says, Shabbos nami matana David l'Galilei. Why don't we say Shabbos is also a gift? It's going to become revealed. It's a wonderful thing. Shabbos is me'ein olam haba. It's a taste of paradise. The Gemara says, well, the matan schar, the reward, is not going to be so apparent. Okay, so we'll skip the next thing. And Amar Rabbi Yochanan Bishul Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, Kol mitzvah shenasan lehem HaKadosh Baruch Hu liyisrael nasan lehem b'far hasya. When Hashem gave us the mitzvahs, He gave it to us publicly. Yeah. With the exception of Shabbos, chutz m'Shabbos shenasan lehem b'tzina, He gave it to us privately, because it says Beini v'em b'nei Yisrael oisi la'olam. Between me and the Bnei Yisrael, it's a sign. It's like a marriage. And Nachman says, a husband and wife, Nachman and Reb Tzadok, again, there's the two people I prepared the shir with. So, a husband and wife, you don't go into the bedroom to see what's going on. There's a private thing what they're doing in the bedroom. It's between them. It's not for people to wander in to say, hey, what's going on? What are you guys up to? What are you doing? No, that's you're invading the inner sanctum of a marriage. You don't do that. So, so that's the ice. So the Gemara says, "Ihachi lo le'imshi nachem aleh." Why are non-Jews? Why are they? It says that when Mashiach will come, they're going to be judged for not. They were. The Torah was offered to them, and they declined, and they'll be judged a little bit for having declined. What do you mean? If they were never offered Shabbos, Shabbos is, we call a Jew who's religious not Orthodox or Reform or whatever. We call it Shomer Shabbos. This Shomer Shabbos. This is a very important thing. So, a non-Jew never had a chance to be Shomer Shabbos because they were never offered Shabbos. It was not. It was given privately. So the Gemara answers no. Shabbos, everyone knew about Shabbos in a very generic sense.
Everyone, including non-Jews.
Yeah, according to the Midrashic teaching, it's a Gadata. Matan schar and lo idiana, but they didn't really know the reward. Or, by saying, this is the point for us, Matan schar nami yidei, they also knew the reward. Neshama Yesiera lo idinu. But they weren't taught, the world wasn't taught about the extra neshama. Shimon Lakish says, Neshama Yesiera, Neis Nekadosh Baruch Hu ba'adam Erev Shabbos. We receive a extra Neshama on Erev Shabbos. And L'matzah Shabbos Lo Yisei Mena, and then it departs from us Matzah Shabbos. Shenemar Shabbos V'Yinafash. Kiven Shabbos by of the Nafash. So this by Yinafash, which is he ceased or rested, can also mean we lost the nefesh. Of the nefesh, we lost that extra soul.
When it's over.
When it's over. Now, this is Reb Tzadok.
He comments on the Gemara.
Yeah. Neshama Yesiera on Shabbos, he quotes a Zohar on Vayakel, Reish Dalet, Amid Beis, that there's two things. There's a Ruach Chol, there's an energetic weekday thing. And what we have, he says that the difference between weekday and Shabbos is weekday you have Yetzer Hara, weekday you have Kas, you have like desire and anger. And Shabbos, he says, Yetzer Hara goes away. That's what he says. One might argue, right? There's a certain truth there. Some levels of the Yetzer Hara that you have during the week are definitely diminished on Shabbos. Sure. Again, people don't have to abide by this rule. That's up to you. But it's an idea, like if you get into Shabbos, and also the anger and he doesn't say, and maybe the anxiety. So he says, first of all, you have to leave behind the Ruach HaTumah. So he says that you have to prepare for Shabbos. You go to the mikvah, you put yourself in a different headspace. You get rid of all of the temptations. Now, there's two ways you get rid of temptations. One way is you remove the negative, you wash, you go to mikvah. The other way is you transform the positive. So he says, that's why it says, by Vihine Tov Ma'id, by the sixth day, Ma'id is Malach HaMavis, it's Sahara, it's very good. The very is the evil inclination. So Tzaddik says, the koyach of Shabbos is that it can transform the evil inclination. That's the power of Shabbos. That it can go back into the week. That's why this daf is about Hitzah Shabbos. You get it? Because Hitzah Shabbos is the link, and Eruv tavshilin is the link between Shabbos and Yantif, and Hitzah Shabbos expenses is the link between my work, because it is my bank, it's my money, but it's not ksuvim, it's not fixed. It's like a miracle. It's mine and it's not mine at the same time. It's beautiful.
So it's a metaphor.
Yes.
Two economic systems and paradigms. One
Yeah.
is a world of scarcity, and one is a world of abundance. Shabbos is the world of abundance.
And he says it's connected to Torah, because when we were given Matan Torah, we received crowns. A crown means keser, means what we stand for. We're higher than what the situation we can't seem to get ourselves out of, so to speak. That's keser, and it's higher than the Yetzer Hara. We can transform the Yetzer Hara. But then we sinned with the golden calf, and it was removed from us, and it's brought back on Shabbos. Shabbos, we're living like Matan Torah is still a new thing. Then Tzaddik adds, because I don't have time to do the Erev tavshilin. The Bishul Akum is a very good one.
Let's do it next time.
Maybe we'll do it next time. In the meantime, take the notes from, you could look it up online from Star K. It's a very nice write-up on it.
What is it?
And just again to thank the sponsor of tonight's shir, Shimon Smith, in memory of Lior ben David Rachel. His Neshama Yesiera.
Beautiful.